good sharp stake. Drive it right through his heart.
You're a vampire, Michael.
My own brother, a damn blood-sucking vampire.
Well, you wait till Mom finds out, buddy.
When a vampire bites it, it's never a pretty sight.
Michael, they're coming! Oh, shit!
What's going on, YouTube? We back in the Low Key Cave, Keyshawn Knobs YouTube page, aka Mr. Low Key, and we back with another summer horror movie review. And I've been doing a couple throwbacks, and I got another favorite one of mine that's kind of one of those summer horror movies that I like. And I don't even know if you can necessarily call this horror, well, in my opinion, but we got The Lost Boys. This came out in 1987, a very special year. Hey, but it's definitely one of my favorite movies, especially when I was younger. Growing up, man, I used to watch this all the time. I was one of those people that enjoyed those type of movies that was kind of like a build up to it, like a big fight off at the end. Like, of course, the John Claude Van Damme movies, you know, like Bloodsport and Kickbox and everything like that. And this ain't got nothing to do with that, but it's still that whole build up, a climax to the big standoff against the vampire versus vampire, whatever. And that was one of my drawing points to this and why I always enjoyed it a lot. Getting older, though, it definitely is not scary. Like, it's not scary at all. I feel like if Twilight was rated R, it would definitely be something similar to this. Because these are definitely, like, the cool vampires. Like, I just recently did a review on The Last Voyage of the Demeter, and I was talking about how I have an enjoyment for vicious vampires. I like my vampires to be aggressive. I like them to be scary. You know what I'm saying? Even with the Blade movies, especially the first Blade, I always felt like they was able to keep that cool, suave kind of thing going on with Blade and even some of the other vampires, but they made some horror elements in there, and some of the vampires were actually very vicious and kind of scary in Blade or whatever, if you ask me, in my opinion. As far as the Lost Boys, though, none of these vampires are scary, man. I would actually probably hang out with some of these. These are definitely hippie vampires, especially coming into the 80s or whatever. But they definitely had swag. They were smooth. Like, they wasn't scary or nothing outside of them kind of transforming and they put in the context or whatever. At least they had fangs, too. That's one thing I will say. And they had a couple moments in here where they had some violence or whatever, and it seemed like they had their moments of kind of bringing some terror or whatever. But definitely when I got older, this did not that scary to me. It ain't scary at all, but it's still a good movie. It's actually kind of more funny than anything. It's got some good funny moments. Character-wise, though, you know, our two mains as far as Michael and Sam and following them, as far as the whole transitioning of Michael and what he go through when he had this whole thing going on with befriended David and the other ones. Because, once again, this came out in 1987, the plot. A family moves into this new area where it's infested with these teenage vampires or whatever, and one of the brothers end up basically getting kind of infected by drinking the blood of one of the people that he's befriended as far as David, and that is Michael. And the movie is basically some way of going through his transition into not trying to turn into a vampire, and his brother trying to help him not turn into a vampire. So they get on this big crusade of trying to find the head vampire, along with these two brothers called the Frog Brothers, who own this comic book store on the beach or boardwalk or whatever, on the beach or whatever. And they pretty much on this crusade to stop his brother from transforming. At the same time, his brother Michael, he kind of in this kind of not love triangle, but kind of got this dilemma because the girl that he likes, she is kind of in the same position he is. It's kind of a transition. But I think the rules or the mythology of these vampires in this particular movie is you don't fully transition until you make your first kill. So that's the thing they're trying to really stop him from. But the urges, you know, as a vampire, and he's having these urges or whatever. And once again, it's a lot going on outside of, like I said, it being actually scary. It's a lot of good, funny moments. But character-wise, Sam and Michael, definitely enjoy them, following them and doing what they do in the Frog Brothers, man. Classic, man, classic. And even the whole thing with his mama and her dating the dude or whatever. I forgot his name. But even this little, I ain't going to call it a mystery, but it's kind of like we all think the head of the vampires or the person we trying to get to stop is David. We feeling like he's the head of the vampires or whatever. And even when they do that little spin or whatever with finding out that the actual head vampire is the dude that their mama was dating or whatever, I didn't mind that at all. But once again, it was the big standoff with David and Michael pretty much going at it or whatever. Outside of that, like I said, it's more so comedic form for me, definitely getting older. I still enjoy it to this day. I feel like it's a good time as far as a summer movie to watch, especially if you're looking for like those little good horror genres outside of like scary vampires. If you like your cool vampires, this is definitely the one. But story wise, like I said, I feel like the plot works. Outside of the climax they get with them kind of having this standoff with the vampire versus vampire and kind of getting this big reveal of the mama dating the head vampire, it worked for me. And once again, the Frog Brothers, man, it had a lot of good comedic moments, especially when Sam is finding out that Michael is turned into a vampire and he's trying to call his mama or whatever. And they going through that transition or whatever. But outside of that, it ain't really nothing too heavy or too much going on as far as plot-wise or whatever. It's more so trying to figure out if Michael going to make that transition or is he going to be able to hold himself back from fully going into becoming a vampire or whatever. And like I said, that's kind of the main draw of the movie outside of them trying to find out who's this head vampire or whatever and trying to stop David and his vampire crew or whatever. Not too much more to it than that. But this is definitely still one of my favorite vampire movies. You definitely should check it out if you're a fan of vampire movies. But not only that, as far as just those 80 flicks or whatever. This in the vein of Fright Night, it kind of had that smooth vampire whatever coming in. And once again, that's what I was talking about as far as not really having those traditional scary vampires outside of what we kind of been recently getting with the last Voyage of the Demeter or even movies like 30 Days a Night. And I'm trying to think. I know someone out here that's kind of stick with the tradition of being like having scary vampires or whatever. I'm gonna have to think on it. Definitely gonna be working on doing the 30 Days a Night review or whatever. I'll probably wait for Halloween for that. But as far as the Lost Boys, I would like y'all to let me know where y'all would rank this as far as vampire movies or best vampire movies of all time. I definitely feel like it should be ranked high, even though I feel like throughout the years it's kind of become a little cheesy or whatever as far as the plot or whatever, but it still works for me. I still enjoy it or whatever. But y'all let me know how y'all feeling as far as the Lost Boys. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit that notification bell, let you know when I upload new videos. Other than that, we out.